Big ideas in small bites. This is Bite Sized, brought to you by Accenture.
Welcome to Bite Sized. I'm your host, Bella Thornley, and I'm thrilled to be joined by not one, but two fantastic guests today. First up, our very own Hina Patel, one of Accenture's leading voices in customer transformation. And alongside her, I'm delighted to welcome Rachel Barrass, Director of Customer Services at the giant Virgin Media O2. Rachel is a true customer service powerhouse with more than 25 years' experience driving strategies across finance, energy, and media. At VMO2, she leads the charge for one of the UK's most diverse customer bases, navigating both the challenges of a fiercely competitive market and the complexities of the Virgin Media O2 merger. A very warm welcome, Rachel and Hina. Rachel, I'd love to start with you and just to get a little bit of a background of your amazing career, obviously the complexity of your role, especially with the merger of Virgin Media and O2, the huge customer base that you've got, the variety and all of those challenges.
And thank you for inviting me, actually. I'm really pleased to be here. So, yeah, I guess a little bit about me. I've worked in financial services, I've worked in utilities, and now obviously in telco. And it's really interesting, actually. We're on a really interesting journey in Virgin Media O2 right now. We came together, obviously, two giants, Virgin Media and O2, came together as a joint venture in 2021. Really exciting time and some huge benefits that we can deliver for our customer bases, and really exciting because both very exciting brands. But actually that's thrown up quite a lot of challenges as well. We had quite complex and fragmented operating models and quite different ways of doing business, actually. And also when we came together, we were at a very different position. You know, O2 has got a very well-known and is very well known for driving great customer experience. Virgin Media perhaps less so. You know, we weren't in a position of strength when it came to customer experience, and we knew that we could do better. So actually bringing the two businesses together gave us a really great opportunity to start to think about how do we simplify our organisation to improve customer experience. And that's really where we decided we needed a huge program of transformation, looking at our IT systems, looking at our people, looking at our operating model. And that's where the customer transformation program was born.
How did you prioritise and structure that transformation?
So we broke it down into 4 really clear, distinct pillars. So we knew we had to focus on operational performance, and that's getting the basics right, actually, making sure that we had the right people in the right place at the right time to handle the interactions that were coming through into our customer service teams. So we shored up the basics, the hygiene factors that our customers expect. What that then did is it left us the opportunity, it gave us the capacity to start to think about the other 3 key pillars. And those were technology, looking at our technology stacks. How did we bring the complexity of the former O2 organisation, the former Virgin Media customer services team together on one technology platform? So we wanted to really improve our technology, make it easier for customers to interact with us, easier for our advisors to be able to deal with the customer interactions. So technology was our second pillar. Then we also wanted to focus on our people. How could we improve every interaction? How could we upskill our teams to make sure that they really became subject matter experts? We wanted to reduce handoffs. We knew that customers were really dissatisfied, and customers were telling us they were dissatisfied when we had to hand them off to another team or department. So we wanted to make sure that our teams could fix any issue that came through to them whilst that customer was either on the call with us or in the messaging channel with us. So we focused on convergence and building converged capability within our teams. And then lastly, the 4th pillar was trying to focus on and address why customers were feeling the need to ring us in the first place. So that pillar was about root cause and fix, understanding the process issue that had led that customer to need to contact Virgin Media O2 and seek a resolution. So we started a programme of activity around flushing out those process issues and making sure that we were addressing them. So that's kind of how we went about thinking about structuring the programme of activity. And then, of course, that is where we started to partner very successfully with the Accenture team and Hina and her organisation.
With that amazing structure of those sort of pillars, why do you think this transformation was so successful compared to others? What was the differentiator?
I think it was how we structured. So I think we were really clear on our pillars, and we were really clear in terms of what good looked like for us. We had really clear success criteria, some clear targets, and each of our teams were value obsessed around that target. So everyone was really clear about what the end state looked like. We were really deliberate about how we set up our teams as well, weren't we? So we thought about squads, cross-functional, that had the combination of data, AI, deep expertise that understood the area that they were looking to fix. We had capacity to make sure that they were focused on delivery, not just providing updates. And that was really key, the pace at which we worked. So we worked in 2-week delivery sprints, and the teams were dedicated to that area. So I think that was really key. And then we brought assets and accelerators to really help improve and drive performance in the area. So when we're looking at root cause and fix, for example, one of the assets we brought was Journey Analytics, which enables you to piece together the different interactions that a customer has, and then you can see when the friction's starting to increase. And so when a customer calls in, as a result of that asset now, we're able to see the interactions they've had, not have to go to all those legacy systems, and we're able to get a resolution really quickly.
Yeah. And I think also building on that, I think from a Virgin Media 2 perspective, it was the first time really that we'd been able to provide data, insight, and really accurate feedback as to the reasons customers were contacting us. So the tech was hugely powerful in enabling a lot of that. And I think we also realised that of those 4 strategic pillars, not one of them independently would have fixed the issues that we were trying to address. We needed all 4 of them to truly put the customer at the heart of everything that we were trying to change. And that was sponsored from the board downwards. And I think Hina's point is a good one, which is, the whole business got behind this and was really galvanised, seeking to achieve improvements in customer experience that were measurable, and we have seen improvements in a number of key metrics, actually.
And do you have any of those metrics? Because I think that's obviously a big focus for everyone, is always now that shift to being really sort of business value outcome driven. Have you got any exciting metrics?
If we take complaints as an example, the number of customers complaining to us this year versus the same point last year is down by over 60%. So we've seen a phenomenal improvement in the number of customers that felt the need to escalate and raise a complaint. So we'd had opportunity to fix and resolve their issues, but we're actually going on to resolve a complaint. So that's an incredibly powerful that we've removed transfers, so handoffs between teams, which we knew causes dissatisfaction amongst our customers. That has reduced significantly by over 10% in the year as well. And then also, we're starting to build more trust with our customers. So service is now becoming an area where we can also add more value. So we're not just a cost centre, we are now starting to become a really effective profit centre. So yeah, pretty much every metric is moving in the right direction. So there's reason for hope. Yeah.
It's like our 60 seconds of loyalty is kind of how we see it. It's almost,
really
if we
good
resolve the
description.
customer's query, then they're going to give us 60 seconds to actually listen to what we might have to say, and therefore have a conversation that's engaging around new products and services.
Yes. Yeah.
How are you using that, plus all the foundations that you've put in place, to sort of, I guess, continuously improve, innovate, and that sort of sustained innovation, leveraging all the amazing work that you've done so far?
Yeah, so I guess the data and the insight that we're now able to get from the new technology has enabled us to really embed root cause right throughout the organisation. We're now in a position where that is really methodical, that is industrialised, and we're doing that on a really frequent basis. So we've got really great momentum there. But what this has also done now is it's really unlocked an opportunity for us to think about things like Agentic AI and where that might play a part in our future customer service aspirations. So we're looking at the minute at the specific processes where we think Agentic has got a part to play, not to replace what we're already offering, either through the voice or the messaging channels, but to complement our existing customer service offering. I'm very much thinking about Agentic AI as a 24/7 offering, so customers could self-serve at a point in time that suits them. So we've got some very initial trials ongoing at the minute looking at Agentic, and again, Hina and the team have been supporting us with some of that future thinking.
Brilliant. You mentioned trials there. What are the latest findings out of those trials?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. We've got 3 particular contact types, if you like, that we're trialling at the minute. So that the Agentic is running across all of our processes, across those 3 specific processes, and it is following what agents are doing. And actually, we're getting a really great outcome from the Agentic, which is almost comparable to what we're seeing with our advisors at the minute. So again, we've picked 3. We're starting small. We're building this up slowly. We're looking for those kind of high volume, lower complexity interactions to start with. But yeah, we can already see that there are early signs that Agentic is going to play a part in our future plans.
And talking about future plans, what is the ambition for customer service at VMO2 over the next couple of years?
So I guess if you were to ask me where I think we might be in 5 years, I would love to say that the headline is that VMO2 are trailblazers in the world of customer service. I'd love to see that we are somebody that other providers, outside of telco as well, actually have looked at for, some inspiration about how they might turn around their customer service function. I'd like to think that AI is playing a really heavy part in our customer service proposition as well. But really specifically, we've focused in on trying to think about how do we get the interaction right and into the right channel. So where does Agentic AI play? Where do we need advisor support for more complex, sensitive interactions? So we've been focused on building a specific specialist team. It's something that Hina and I have partnered on, but we've built what we're describing as a VIP team. But effectively, this team is a team of agents that will be super skilled. They'll be able to resolve any issue that comes through to them. They'll be fully empowered to make sure that they resolve the particular issue that they're dealing with. And those are for quite complex interactions where a customer needs perhaps that extra reassurance. We believe this team has got a part to play, coupled with Agentic AI for the kind of higher volume, lower complexity interactions. So that's kind of where I see us evolving to. I think there's a part for our advisors to play, more multi-skilling, higher skilled agents, where service is a real career choice for them as well. So I think in terms of the people development, that's also really exciting, I think, over the next few years about how we might upskill our teams more effectively.
From what you've just said, it's we want to equip you so that you can focus on the real sort of complex, where you probably need a lot more empathy as well for the customer service versus having to, they don't have to focus so much on the sort of low complexity manual workarounds. Is that a big success factor as well as you move more towards Agentic?
It definitely is. And, as well as seeing improvements in customer experience, we're already starting to see improvements in our agent experience as well. So they're giving us feedback that, the investment and time that we're putting into their development, the type of interactions that we're asking them to deal with makes really good sense to them. And also we're targeting them and measuring them in a very different way as well. So we are focused just on getting it right and making sure that the customer experience is right. And the teams feel empowered to do that in a way that they perhaps haven't felt before. So I think they're all valuing the investment. They can see it. We're looking at professional accreditations for them. So I think we're still on that journey, but we're starting to get positive feedback from the teams as well as our customers.
And I think one of the most successful parts of the transformation from an agent's perspective is that we stopped measuring them on average handle time. And what we care about is first time resolution.
Okay.
So effectively being able to resolve every time on that call, and that's what we might measure them against. What we also track is a 35-day repeat rate. And why 35 days? That's because it's a billing period. So effectively everything's been resolved. They receive their bill, there's no surprises, and effectively we've resolved that query. And so that was a massive mindset change when you think about 9,000 agents all focused and galvanised around that as a metric, and moving away from the handle time is something that all contact centres tend to measure.
Yeah.
It's a massive part of our transformation.
That's super interesting. So I think as often we've seen, say complaints is I think a huge sort of AI use case, but everyone, as I mentioned sort of earlier, it's just about, how do we improve the current process rather than looking at the holistic, how do we just reinvent this process? And the metrics is such a key part of that. And I assume obviously training, as you mentioned, getting certifications, and that was all part of that transformation as well, was upskilling them and getting the value out of AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why the 4 pillars were so important, that they all knitted together and pieced together really effectively, and people were absolutely critical to the success and the future success of what we're trying to drive. But it has to be tangible. We recognise straight from the outset it has to look and feel different. The role has to feel different to them when they come into this new world that we're trying to drive. And we've got to live and breathe customer experience in absolutely everything we do. So all of the metrics have to drive improvements in customer experience. And certainly they're really enjoying, and certainly the empowerment that they now have. The feedback that I'm getting is that they love spending longer making sure that the customer goes away. They really understand what has been done for them. It's been a really powerful change.
Out of interest, one of the feedbacks that I've often received is obviously how do you do a transformation and still deliver that sort of incremental value? Because what you don't want to be doing is sort of waiting and say, could you wait 2 years and then you'll see a huge change. Was that part of your approach as well, obviously across your 4 pillars of how you could create and show value throughout the transformation?
Yeah, that was really important, actually. We recognised we had to have some wins very early on. So yeah, it was very, very important to us, and we had to think about the communication, around, especially the first couple of months while we were getting established. But that's why I think the targets that we galvanised around, we were sharing them weekly, we were sharing them monthly, so people could start to see that the dial was moving.
I think just the way in which we approached it with agility. So recognising that we had raw data that we were using at the offset, driving initiatives that we could without tech change, then over time productizing that data so that it was available, it was industrialized, then moving up the curve so that when we had technology available to us, we were doing things like, for example, on every call we can actually see and determine a level of dissatisfaction of our customers by using a keyword match. So we use natural language understanding that's live on the calls. And based on 10 words and key match phrases, we can actually predict if a customer is going to end up in dissatisfaction. And what we did was build a program around that so that agents were coached around being able to recognize when a customer's increasingly dissatisfied and what that might lead to, but actually then using those cues to then resolve on the call. We saw a massive increase in same-day resolution rate as a result.
Yeah, and we've also been able to use kind of interventions. So actually, where these keywords are identified, whilst a call is actually ongoing, the team manager or the ops lead can actually intervene on that transaction.
A lot of what you've obviously talked about, I think, is really reusable probably across different areas of Virgin Media and O2. Have you been approached by some of the other business areas on utilising your learnings and actually some of that AI capability elsewhere?
Yeah, we have. I think what this has done, I think, is it's made us think far more about our end-to-end customer experience, whether that is a customer that's in a retail store or a customer that's in one of our voice centres. So where we see that there are opportunities for us to make sure that we are being consistent across all of those channels, we're proactively seeking out opportunities to do that. So if we think about tooling, so the retail stores at the minute are looking at the tooling that our agents are using and whether or not they could be using all of the same systems and functionality, and therefore serving customers in exactly the same way you may be served if you rang into one of our contact centres. So that's something that we're really excited about right now. So that will look at the tooling, but they're also looking at Agentic. They're really interested in, could they have a virtual contact centre, if you like, within one of the retail stores where a customer can come in and self-serve within the store, and then they have store advisors who may also be able to support and lean in where needed.
So I always like to finish off the podcast with that real inspiring question, which is, let's fast forward 5 years. What headline would you like to see and what part would you like to have played in creating that headline?
I would love to see VMO2 are trailblazers and have set the benchmark really high for customer service. And I guess the part I'd like to play is to continue what we're doing. I firmly believe that we are on the journey to get exactly there within the next 5 years. In fact, I think, Hina and I often discuss, I think we're probably ahead, aren't we, in terms of the technology that's available to us. Our challenge now is to make sure that we're leveraging that technology and that new capability that we have at our disposal. When you think about where VMO2 is trying to get to, driving great customer experience, great advisor experience, it's really important that we start to think about how can we be more proactive. So some of the things we're talking about at the minute are, could we get to a customer before they realise they've even got an issue? So could we be proactive? Could we be contacting them, making sure that we're actually minimising any effort that customer might have to go through in a point in time? So as well as investing in our people and creating real specialist niche teams, really highly skilled, having a really effective agentic AI proposition and broader digital channels and self-serve, I'd really like to think that we also had an opportunity to be proactive and flush out issues before a customer even felt the need to have to either pick up the phone or contact Virgin Media O2. So I think it's a really, really exciting prospect. We're touching on some of that now with some of the capability that we've got, with some of the interventions that are already happening in the middle of some of our contacts. But I think we can do more in that space. So I think that will be a differentiator. And I'd love to still be part of this journey for the next few years. I'd love to think that, some of our competitors and other businesses out there and disciplines out there would be looking at VMO2 for inspiration about how they might want to turn things around.
Thank you so much for joining today and for providing such great insight on the value that can be delivered when you really focus on the data foundations, your technology and people. And as you mentioned, the importance of getting sponsorship. This was Bite Sized, and I hope you enjoyed listening. Until next time.